Yeah. This link. The proper etiquette for it. You start streaming and then send the link. I guess so. Sometimes I do like a little bit of like a intro screen and put it live and then don't have any audio, just that intro screen, and then switch it. Yeah.
A lot of streamers do that. I just don't know like what the best way for me. How do I set that up? Is it working? I don't see.
Maybe you would just use your logo thing. I don't see it on your channel yet.
Me neither, but it says I'm live, and I hit the live stream. Oh, I know why. Yeah, this'll do it.
Public?
Yeah. Yeah.
YouTube live streaming seems a little bit more complicated.
I know there's a way to do it that's pretty simple. Alright, so now you should see it. Yeah.
Yep, I see it. All right, I'm gonna look at.
Let me send it. All right, ready?
Yeah. Ready.
Welcome to the Rambling Ranting Review Hour. I am here with my buddy Goro Gregoro.
What's up?
This is episode 5 of our incredible live stream podcast, and we are here to talk about the finale of My Hero Academia Season 4, as well as the Two Heroes movie.
Oh, we want to do the Two Heroes movie too?
Yeah, that was the whole point. We're gonna get both of them.
I could have sworn we were doing that the other time too. The other review.
No, I don't think we talked about it. I'm pretty sure we didn't talk about it. Maybe we talked a little bit about it, but now we're going in depth.
Okay.
So, Goro, what do you think of these last 2 episodes of My Hero Academia, the Pro Hero arc?
Really, really good. And this also tied in with that, like those 1 or 2 episodes where they were doing the provisional exams.
Oh, how so? What reminded you of that?
When Endeavor was just sitting in on Todoroki's exam.
Oh yeah,
and
true.
Talking to All Might.
It is the big connection, because like there you sort of like, yeah, that's the thing about why Endeavor's like such a well conceived, well done character that Horikoshi's done a great job with, is the fact that you know, he's angry and spiteful and not a great person, but he's also not stupid.
Do you think Total? Or sorry, uh, I keep on forgetting the mangaka for My Hero.
Horikoshi.
Horikoshi. Horikoshi sees himself as Endeavor in a way, and
No,
number
no.
one is like One Piece. Like All Might is like symbolizing One Piece, and his anime is My Hero Academia.
That would be really funny if that, like, yeah, Oda's like the giant and he's like the number two.
Yeah.
It's funny though that you, yeah, you can say that Oda is. But the funny thing about like One Piece is, I'm sure in Japan One Piece is like far more ranging and popular than My Hero Academia. But at the same time, I feel like My Hero Academia is like basically strangled and punched Naruto, and like has become its place as like the definitive anime that like people, basically it's the anime that when you think of anime or shonen anime, which is kind of like the Marvel super. It's like how Marvel superhero movies have become like, they're not all cinema, but because they're so pervasive, it's just like when you think of big blockbuster movies, you think of the Marvel movies, right?
Yes.
Exactly. So you think of the big super Marvel movies, and just the same way, like when you think of like anime, you think of Dragon Ball Z, and then you think of Naruto. Once that became over, super jealous, super overexposed. And now My Hero Academia is like reached that point where it's like it's in every convention, there's fan backlash. It's become this all-consuming juggernaut that has just swept the fandom world by storm to the point where, you could almost feel like you're getting a little bit of backlash against it just because it's just so ubiquitous.
Yeah. So, are you agreeing with me? Or are you? I don't get the point of what you were saying.
Well,
You're saying it is a good analogy.
Yeah, I think it's a good analogy. But I think it's a good analogy. I agree with it. But I just think it's funny that like My Hero Academia is such a big has a bigger international thing than One Piece.
Really?
Well,
I guess
at least in America, like One Piece, I always feel like the fandom's been kind of like stunted, just because of the terrible 4Kids thing. So it never really got the same sort of push that other ubiquitous things got.
That's true. Yeah, and the whole superhero thing, like being super popular with Marvel and everything. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
So like One Piece fandom has always been a little bit stunted, and it doesn't help that like there's 900 plus episodes to get into, so it's like unless you have like some real big reason to like climb that ship, it's like a very intimidating thing.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, that's a really good point because yeah, One Piece has like over 900 episodes right now, so that's just too hard to.
And it also doesn't help that the fact that like there's a lot of chafe in the One Piece. Like so far, the My Hero Academia is like 1 to 2 to 2.5 chapters per. Like the end episode was like 5-6 chapters of fighting, all condensed down to one. Which is why it was so goddamn good. Versus One Piece, where it's like we gotta stretch this son of a bitch.
I think My Hero is actually. Was it like one of the first ones to do that like formula of like throw in like a huge good animation budget into like very few episodes?
Well, I think what happened is that like what we started to see is like traditionally what we would get is like what I call them the F them till they're dead shonen formula, where it was basically you get like a really big, super mega hyper property. And what you would do is you would just keep on churning it out. It doesn't matter if it's good. Just get them. It's paste. They're going to eat it. It's like McNugget paste. They're just going to slop it into their mouths. And it doesn't matter if it follows the manga or not. We just need to keep on doing this till forever, till we beat this dead horse. You saw that with Bleach. You saw that with Naruto. You're currently seeing it with Boruto, which is this weird thing that doesn't even have like a manga that it's really following.
It's just all filler. It's
It's
all
just all filler
it's all
all the
anime filler.
goddamn time. And to a certain extent, you're seeing it with like Black Clover, which is at a weird point where it's like only 20 chapters away from the manga. And I don't know if they're just going to end it or if they're just going to like kill it off. But, you know, what you saw, I don't know if this started with Full Metal Alchemist, where it was like a trend of like going to older series that didn't get the manga adapted, but you could say Brotherhood was like the first example, and then My Hero is probably the best example, where it's like we do one compact series that adapts like 40 to 60 chapters, then we're done. There's a little bit of a break. Then we go to the next season and we go through that sort of pacing, and it works well even if there is a break because people like things when it's well done.
The thing with Full Metal Alchemist, though, it was a finished manga series, but this is an ongoing series, and like animation studios really couldn't find like a really great formula to like, oh shit, what happens when we get to, you know, the most latest content, basically. They're just like, throw in filler.
Yeah,
Was their first answer.
Which was all or clip shows or just weird, stupid, dumb bullshit. And it never helps. It always pisses people off. It just kind of kills the fandom, and it's just never good. So it's always better. And My Hero Academia has had a few filler episodes, but largely it's been kept to a minimum as they've... and like I said, it's a stronger thing. But all right, so we got a little bit of a sidetrack, though. Let's get into these last two episodes. What do you think of the Japanese Billboard charts?
It was fun just to see, like, I guess who the top heroes were. I didn't really know half of them.
Well, because most of them
wasn't like super invested in
most
a lot
of them. Most of them were just introduced just then.
Like the washing machine hero, like that's, and the bunny girl. She seems kind of a cute, spunky character.
That is what we call a nothing character who is going to be loved by the fan base because she's a great character design.
Yeah.
That's one thing I got to give it to Horikoshi. He's really good with like coming up with character designs. And another thing that's kind of interesting now that I think about it more that I think helps. I don't think it was intentional, but you know, there was this big trend in anime and manga where there's like, you know, across shonen and every other genre for like people love fucking monster girls. The monster girls is like the most popular thing, and Horikoshi kind of like is able to slide that line with like, oh, it's a quirk society. This is a lizard guy. This is a bunny girl.
Oh,
this is
yeah.
This
is a tail guy.
This is a frog girl. So you can have your monster girls, but because it's an X-Men superhero, it doesn't feel as weeby or as dumb as other stuff. It doesn't feel quite as it doesn't give you that like neckbeard sense of shame.
Oh, yeah. I feel like some other anime can pull it off too. Like, not just My Hero Academia, but I sort of see what you mean. Like,
well, it pulls
I'm
it
trying
off.
to think of an example.
It pulls it off in the sense that like it's the most mainstream accessible thing with like sexy monster girls. And another thing that Horikoshi does really well is that, like, largely, I wouldn't say that there's much fan service, and I think that's what's helped My Hero gain such a widespread audience, because things that are more explicit about their fan service tend to be instantly more niche, but what he does is he just makes hyper-erotic character designs. Not so much with, like, cleavage, just, like, really curvaceous character designs. So the bunny girl is, like, a nothing character, but she's a great character design. I don't want to deny that.
I think probably his most erotic character design that I can think of right now, or like maybe the character design that has the least amount of clothing, is like the bubble girl, but that, or maybe Invisible Girl. You could say Invisible Girl. Invisible Girl has...
You love Invisible Girl. Well, you can definitely say that she
doesn't get enough screen time, but maybe she does. I don't know. They don't really...
Well, there you go. Another classic monster girl. Very classic example.
But yeah. Yeah, that's kind of cool that, you know, because everything is like, you know, mutant powers, like superhero powers or mutant powers, like he can get away with. Lots of cool, quirky designs. Like, that's pretty neat.
Another fun thing that's also like interesting is that one of his previous he had two failed mangas. One was called like Blaze Blaster or something, and then his other failed manga was called Omodashi Zoo, and that was like a manga filled with animal people. And he's even like taken some of his like old character designs and repurposed them in My Hero.
Right, like the orca.
Yeah, like Gang Orca is one of them. The Snake Girl is another one, and there's a few other examples.
Snake Girl? Who's...
she's a really, really minor character. You remember when, whatchamacallit, the girl with the boobs who can create anything?
Yep.
She like works for her as an intern and does commercials.
Vaguely.
Well, that girl was also in Omodashi Zoo.
Okay.
So there are lots of reused monster animal people there that he gets away with. And Hawks was almost from Omodashi Zoo, but he redesigned them. But, well, so what do you think of the introduction of our the boy Hawks, who you got to see in the movie and didn't understand who the fuck is this guy supposed to be? And now you see, oh, this is why he's so important. He's the number 2 hero.
Yeah. No, he was a cool guy. He seemed like a bit of an asshole, like cocky motherfucker at first. We were like, but it seemed to me like, yeah. We later learned to realize like he's playing like a Pariston role in a way.
Yeah,
like
from
Hunter x Hunter.
That is actually a really astute comparison. He's like a much more benevolent version of Pariston.
Yeah.
Where you're not quite sure if he's sincere, but you know, the from what I've read and everything, he is sincere in his desire that he wants to make a world where heroes have too much free time on their hands. That is 100% a sincere desire that he is completely, and he does really enjoy Endeavor. He likes Endeavor as like a more harder, don't take no bullshit hero who isn't as friendly and superficial. And he is a legitimate Endeavor fan. There's like a little flashback of him as like a child, and he's like a little Endeavor doll.
I think, I'm not sure why he didn't like All Might as much. I'm not sure if he was just messing with Endeavor, but it seemed like with All Might at the top, he would still have the same kind of lifestyle. Like, you know, didn't have to worry too much about villains and everything. Like, he make lives much easier for the heroes, basically.
Well, yeah, but I think he wants a world where there's no evil, where there's nothing to do, where everyone's just getting along fine. He wants a lazy peace, not the symbol of peace.
A lazy piece? Okay. I'm not sure I understand. But
he wants a world with no crime. A world where no one's afraid.
I think he wants to recreate a symbol of peace, and he wants to prop up Endeavor to be number 1. Right?
Yeah. He definitely wants, and you know, you might be right about that, because the idea is if Endeavor's number 1, then he could take the full brunt of the blow, and Hawks doesn't have to work as hard.
Right. So Hawks, yeah, he has to play as like some kind of like anti-hero kind of role. So he makes Endeavor, the number 1 hero, look much better. But
he's still like heroic. He's still helping him. Although, well, here, you want me to give you a little bit of a minor spoiler for season 5?
Nah, not after this fight. No, okay. I think I'm done with My Hero spoilers after this.
You want to go pure, and you want to go into the next season pure in 2001 or whenever it comes out.
Yeah, this was a really good fight. This just like on multiple levels.
Oh, actually, there's a really good comment I gotta mention. Jordan Caesar says, "I love Hawks because he's the millennial personification of the OK Boomer attitude." And I think that's pretty astute. He is like the literal OK Boomer. Like everyone's given their like canned responses about we must be really heroic and do our jobs even harder and trying to be faux modest and all of that bullshit. But then Hawks cuts through it and says, "Well, no one's really sure. What are you going to do about it? Number 1, your approval rating is lower than mine."
Yeah, I would say he's trolling. He's trolling everybody. when he does that, though. When he does the "Okay Boomer" meme, he's trolling everybody, but really he wants to prop up the boomers, so he lives an easy lifestyle.
Well, one thing they did really well in the manga, I don't think they got it across, is that like there's a scene where he's like looking at Endeavor and he like zips up and he says, you know, like he's not going to talk, and then he unzips and then he goes on his little tirade. So that was like, I guess my complaint.
That was a weird. Even in the manga, that I didn't quite understand what he was doing with his hands.
He was
like,
he was zipping it up.
I thought he was doing like the kind of okay sign.
No,
like,
no,
okay,
no.
boomer,
I mean, you're right. I guess he did do the okay boomer, but it wasn't intentional.
Good, right?
No, he was like zipping up his mouth, and then he unzips it, and then he goes on his like sort of like when he starts provoking people.
Yeah. So seeing Hawks being like this, you know, he sort of became like Endeavor's like buddy after that moment in a weird way. He's like, you know what? There was a good reason why I said all that shit during the, you know, during the ratings ceremony or whatever. And I think Endeavor sort of understood him in that level. Is like, yeah, you know, maybe it is worth, you know, talking shit so I can look better. I mean,
well, Endeavor's furious. He's angry that the only reason he's like putting up with him is because he's got a lead on the Nomus, and so he's just like, I'm gonna put up with this bullshit. Fuck right. You.
At first, yes, but then after he like. After they have like dinner together or whatever, or eat something, like Hawks explains to him, like, you know, the reason why he did all that shit. And I think especially as they're fighting the Nomu together, like they really do start to understand to work together and get past their differences.
True. One thing I got to redo. I made a little bit of a mistake. I got to redo the intro. We'll get right back into it. Welcome to the Rambling Ranting Review Hour, episode 5. I'm just redoing this intro because we've been recording for the past 15 minutes, but I didn't actually record this for posterity's sake. That was really stupid of me. But I'm here with my buddy Goro, and we are talking about the My Hero Academia Season 5, the end of Season 4, I mean, and the movie. So let's get right back into our conversation that was already in progress. Tell me what you think of good old Endeavor and Hawks.
Endeavor
so you're telling me about how you were enjoying Hawks as the ultimate millennial hero, and you liked how he like pushed him.
Yeah. And Hawks is like, he's like almost like a thorn in Endeavor's side, basically. But you know, in reality, like he only does that just for show, just to make Endeavor look better. And yeah, and I think it really builds on both of those characters when he does that.
Yeah, that is true. I thought it was a really great introduction. I think Horikoshi knocked it out of the park with Hawk's design. And I think there's a reason why they included him in the movie, because they knew this guy's going to be a popular character. It doesn't matter if he could fit him in the story or if it even makes sense. We're going to just throw him in there.
So, I don't get how he can get the nickname Too Fast. I mean, yes, he had that whole like introduction while he's walking with Endeavor, like saving random people, saving a cat from a tree, stopping a flasher or whatever, while having this conversation with Endeavor. Like, they didn't. Besides those moments, like it didn't seem like he was too fast, you know?
Well,
like,
the idea of why he's too fast is he's not like supposed to be a speedster hero. What makes him too fast is the fact that he's progressing too quickly in life. So I forget if they showed this, but they have a little flashback where they showed like Hawkson is like a 5-year-old, and then they look at him and he like saves some person when he's 5. There's like, oh my god, this child is so incredible. He must become a hero. And the fact that he's like, oh, he started a pro agency at the age of 18, and he's 22 now, and he's the number 2 hero. This kid isn't earning the ranks. He's just going too far, and he didn't even go to a hero school. He's just going too fast. He's just he's like Icarus. He's gonna hit the sun and he's gonna burn up. He's just gonna go too.
That's interesting. I never thought of him as Icarus. Like that's pretty interesting comparison. And Endeavor is like the sun.
Yeah, exactly. He's trying to prop up the sun.
Or he's flying. He's going to fly too close to the sun, and maybe he's realizing. I don't know how to what to make of that yet. But I feel like that metaphor is there somewhere.
That it is. He's trying to prop up the sun, and he's also trying to like fly towards the sun because he's living fast and dangerous, which you'll learn about more why later on. Because he just wants that perfect hero society where he can be lazy. He's the man who's moving so fast so he can take it slow.
Right.
And that's what makes him the cool, brash millennial hero. Although, for the episode before his introduction, though, I mean, it was a decent episode. I loved the content. I thought it was great material. Although I thought they did kind of a lazy job of adapting it. I thought they kind of like did the bare minimum.
Oh, you mean of the rankings?
Well, in the anime, yeah, that episode.
Okay, yeah. I was just gonna say, like, the episode afterwards, they did not.
Oh yeah,
they did not do that.
No, it was like they were like. Because, like, overall, I think...
They were saving their budget for that one last episode.
Yeah, because it felt like this season kind of, like... It wasn't plus ultraing as hard as it could. Because there's only, like, two real hyper plus ultra moments. There's the Deku versus Overhaul fight. And then there's the scene where... then, of course, there's the Endeavor versus High End.
I would have been okay if they ended with Gentle and Deku. And the... what is it called? The concert. I would have been okay if they ended with the concert this season. But I really liked that story arc.
It was a great palate cleanser, and I've talked about at length of why I love the Gentle story arc and why I love the gentle criminal. Mm-hmm. The failure we can all relate to. But you got, like, you know, I think it's always better to either end on a bang or have a bang and then end on a quieter note that like sets the stage, and they did a fantastic job. Even if they skipped it a little bit on the episode before the hero rankings, I thought the plus ultraing with Endeavor was freaking amazing.
Yeah, I can't believe Endeavor actually said the words like plus ultra, like at that very last moment against the Nomo. That was kind of like. I thought he was gonna do his own thing, but he ended up instead like honoring the former number one in a way. So I was a little bit surprised by that. Well, and I didn't dislike it though.
One thing I loved about this arc, and one thing I loved about they did a great job of like making him a little bit more sympathetic, and I should have pointed this out in the video I made about it, was the fact that he's sort of like Endeavor, his cold nature is that he wanted to be number one, he tried, he failed, and it's because he knows what his body's limitations are. That if he gets too hot, he's going to burn out, he's going to burn up his internal organs. He's not a dumb guy. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't want to burn his internal organs. And his endeavor was to Endeavor's endeavor was to push back his limitations by finding his ice wife and ultimately breeding a child who would be better than him.
Yeah, you could sort of see that like in the anime too. Like his whole reason with raising a protege that could surpass him. How much that means to him.
And it casts it in a more sympathetic light here, where he's like, that's why I found you, that's why I had you, because I know that I can only go so far. This is as far as I can. But he's like, now I can't, I don't have that luxury anymore. I have to push past it. I have to go beyond. I have to incinerate this thing. And they did a great scene of like just establishing the chaos of like what it looks like he's fallen, how all hope is lost, especially with the brutal eye wound. And then him just, like, pushing beyond and seeing that, like, this is how I'm going to be the symbol, my own symbol. Just something who pushes beyond and stands firm, even if I'm not as likable as All Might.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really cool moment.
If All Might is the dad that like you want to come, tell you did a good job at baseball,
Mhm.
Endeavor is the dad who pays all the bills on time.
But he's also the um, emotionally and maybe physically abusive dad as well.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that
There's also
nobody
that
really
that
knows about
that nobody really knows about, but
about
it,
behind
it
the scenes.
but in his own way, he's like trying to atone for that, and I
Yep.
do love his story arc that we've seen before, and we're gonna see later on. There's some other details that the Todoroki house, you're gonna see more of it, where he knows that he can't forgive all he can't be forgiven, but at least he can try, and that is the most heroic battle beyond his conflict with High End.
Right. So I I wanted to touch a little bit about that, like how the kids all his kids were like watching him at first. Like at first they were visiting his mom, his wife, and they they were like, "Oh, Dad's such a fucking asshole. I don't want to even talk about him." And the wife was like, "Oh, he gets me these flowers all the time, and I only mentioned them once. Like he still has some good qualities to him, even if he did some bad things in the past." And it's the start of like shift of perspective of like how how you might see Endeavor, and then they actually watch him fighting this Nomu, and there's kind of like you can feel the inner turmoil with the kids, and like how like they despised him for most of their lives, but they still root for him to win. It had a really uh big emotional impact, I feel.
It was a great moment. Well, it's interesting because, like, on one way you could say it's kind of lazy that, like, oh, here's this super strong thing and it just comes and it's going to be a fight monster. And that's sort
Right.
of Horikoshi being kind of like a lazy writer, like a sort of like better writer would come up with some better circumstances as opposed to just throwing the monster. But Horikoshi's like, I'm just going to go. I know I can do this fight scene really good. I know I can do all this emotional stuff really good. I'm just going to focus on that. So credit towards him for just getting into it, even though the High End is kind of like comes out of nowhere. It gets explained a little bit better afterwards, but it's still kind of like a lazy device.
Well, like throw in the Nomu at him kind of deal.
Yeah, it just sort of like we need to have a big fight scene. Let's just it just comes out.
Yeah, I guess that was pretty convenient. This just as they're talking about those is they have this new Nomu, and then it comes crashing through the window. Like that felt like amazingly convenient.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a little. It
uh,
was. I'm not going to deny it's super mega hyper contrived, but
yep.
at the same time, it works just because
My
the
hero's
Endeavor
pacing
struggle.
is just so damn fast a lot of the time. Like the story progresses so fast, like all the time throughout the series.
It's like a manga that it's going fast for it's going too fast for its own good. It's the manga that's too
maybe
fast.
maybe Hirokoshi is actually Hawks instead, and he's trying to push the number two manga to be the best manga. I don't know.
Well, it's weird that you should mention that because like it's funny because I remember reading somewhere that someone said that like Horikoshi said in an interview, he likes to have short arcs because he doesn't know if he's going to get canceled, so he's always afraid of that.
Oh yeah.
So that's
Okay.
like this psychological thing that's been driven in him for having two failed series that he just needs to end shit as quickly as possible. And it's funny because like right now in the manga, there's this super mega hyper war going on, and I'm thinking to myself, is this the end of the series? This feels like a potential series ending, and it's a shame because like I thought like with this new setup you could have stretched things out really much longer. It's really funny, and it's something I want to talk with Zavul eventually about, like a larger topic, is like, what's the difference between something that's like going on for too long versus something that's ending too quickly? What's the exact proper length?
Interesting.
Because, like, to take us off topic for a little bit,
Like it would feel too rushed.
mm-hmm.
Like you think it would feel too rushed in some way. Uh, I don't know.
Because, like, I'm wondering with My Hero, like, there's with the manga right now, there's several ways he can take it. There's a lot of things he can do. He could introduce a new villain. He could do a time jump and show what Deku's sidekick life looks like. But he'd have to introduce a new threat. He could be introducing this new threat and ending the Shigaraki story, only to introduce a new storyline, and then that continues in the time jump. Or maybe he's just wrapping it up. I've also heard rumors that he only has 30 volumes of story in mind, and this might be the Avengers Endgame of My Hero Academia that we're seeing right now.
Yeah. So how do you continue after Endgame? We don't even know. How do you continue after something that epic?
Yeah, like I said, it's the end game of My Hero Academia right now. So I don't know. Maybe he's wrapping up the series. Maybe he feels like around 300 chapters is all he's got in him, and that he's ready to like go off into the sunset until he has another idea.
Well, I have a feeling of how he should end it, and probably somewhat how he ended the movie, My Hero movie.
Oh wait, before we segue into that, one thing I've got to... So I'm making you catch up with The Promised Neverland. We're going to do a stream on that eventually in a podcast review. And the funny thing is that, like, The Promised Neverland feels like it's in this mix of, like, it's trying to end, but it keeps on extending its ending.
Oh yeah. Like it can't end like right now necessarily until all the kids escape from the world, I imagine.
Well, that's the thing. You're not that far behind, and you're at the point where they're like, you know, about to beat the evil bad human bad guy and see his end, and then
you might want to watch out for spoilers though.
Yeah.
People
and it feels like that should be the end, but right now they're introducing more things where it's like, hey, this is apparently like was the number 3 best-selling manga of 2009, and it's like we got to keep this ship going, we got to keep it going, we got to keep on keep it going, even though you said this is going to be the final arc and you were going to wrap shit up.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into that eventually. I have lots of conflicted feelings about The Promised Neverland.
Yeah, same.
But the funny thing is that apparently it sold 7 million copies, and Naruto at its peak, like that was like the highest it ever sold.
Well, one of the great things about Promised Neverland though is the artwork. Artwork has still been like pretty good. Like all those beautiful like color cover pages and everything. You know, they do a lot of great art with that, but it's fun to look at. But
it is nice to look at.
Story wise, hasn't been hitting.
So let's go.
Wise.
So, what would you rate the episode of the Hero Charts, and what would you rate the epic finale with Endeavor?
Oh,
What? Give me a rating.
Epic Hero Charts. That's probably like that was like a 6. it was kind of mediocre. It felt like let's check out who's the best now that All Might is gone. Like who are the top heroes? Like
yes and no. I agree with you. I think it's definitely 6.5. I thought the material was strong. I just thought it was like the laziest execution of that material. It was like told in the most uninteresting way.
Yeah, maybe.
Because like I showed you the manga, and how much cooler did Hawks look when he's like flying in the air with the microphone in the manga than he did in the anime?
Yeah, the manga did look a little bit better. Like it was flashier in the manga. But yeah, I think I didn't really want to see like all the heroes ranked. I guess I kind of just wanted to skip to like the top 3 or something, top 4. They should have just skip to the top, the top three.
Didn't you want
Honestly,
to see all those crazy character designs, like the samurai hero and the crust hero and sexy rabbit girl, who's probably already has like tons of Rule 34 art?
okay, maybe Rabbit Girl, but like skip through most of them. Skip through most of them, and then get to like the main point, because like I feel like nobody really cares about these other heroes. Like at this point, Hirikoshi, he isn't gonna go back to like the ninja guy, like, and make him interesting. He's not gonna go back to like the really really old guy. I forget what his thing was.
The beetle guy, the beetle armor guy.
Was it a Beetle Armor guy? Yeah, they're never gonna bring them back.
He could, maybe. He probably won't. But
it just felt like a waste of time. Hirikoshi, he's very quick. He wants the story done quick. He should have just done it quick, right towards the ending of that ranking.
But what about the Wash character? Don't you want to know what Wash is about?
Just do like a funny one-liner thing of him saying wash, but don't even mention his ranking. Don't even mention his ranking. Just do wash, and then like maybe Deku and the others talking in the background, like, talk about, these heroes are interesting, like blah blah blah. Someone such and such was ranked blah 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 last year, but now, Hawks, he's risen the ranks once again.
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting content, shoddily executed, but I still loved how it built up Endeavor in his role of number one. And that episode with freaking Endeavor and his fiery, is that a 10 out of 10 for you?
Yes. The animation for that fight was so spectacular. It felt like the animation, like, even beyond like something that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure would do, like Part 5 JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, like, because the animation for JoJo's Part 5 was also really amazing, but this was just like, this was bonkers. Like you couldn't see like everything that was happening. Like you might have to watch it like again, just to see everything that's going on. But like the building getting slashed in half, like it took me like half a second to realize, like, oh shit, that was like the Nomu and Endeavor, like also spinning around in that little
that little frisbee, and then he's just like, I love that stupid. I love that fire frisbee.
Like, there's just so many like stretching of like proportions, and everyone's like physical or fiery nature, like in that animation, just like really pushed the boundaries of everything with that one.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought they did a brilliant job. I had a feeling that they were going to knock it out of the park, and they did. They did a great job. That's how you do it. You take several chapters of manga and you condense it down as quickly as possible, and you create a 10 out of 10 fight scene.
This is probably, I don't know which is my favorite fight scene now. It's either this one or the Todoroki Deku fight.
And another thing, did you also like the symbology? I mean, this was kind of basic symbology, 101, where it's like, did you like how Endeavor, the creature was like, I only want to fight the strongest. Who's the strongest? I gotta fight the strongest. And then Endeavor's like, you are a dark version of what I was. And just like I'm trying to burn it, I'm gonna burn you up like you are the past version of me, something only concerned with strength.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I didn't really like I wasn't too invested in that, but that was like a nice little side thing. I think the main real emotional impact of that fight was, his kids like looking at him through the TV, be like, we kind of despise this guy, but we still really want him to win. It's like, there's this love-hate relationship with him, and you really see that when they're all reacting to him fighting, and Endeavor like giving it his all, and like it looks like he's about to lose like horribly, but he pushes through at the very end, like with help of Hawks too.
Yeah.
Like which I didn't expect like Hawks to be that much help during this fight at all.
Well, he was definitely a support guy, and it was.
Yeah.
And you thought, what do you think of his wing quirk now that you got to see it in action? I think it's definitely one of the more creative superpowers. Well, in terms of like, oh, he's got the little wings and they fly around and he can control them and like psychically.
Yeah, I kind of wish there was a little bit more disadvantage to that. Like if he plucks out too many wings, like he starts to get more physically hurt somehow, or
Well,
maybe
he
using
can't
too
fly
many
as well.
feathers is too mentally taxing, and he gets a headache or something like that.
So before we get into the movie, though, one last thing. So you're going through Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer. How do you think this? How do you think My Hero is holding up to Demon Slayer? Because Demon Slayer has now become the new hotness for a brief moment.
I still think My Hero is better. It's I mean, it's still too early for me because I've only just gotten into Demon Slayer, but um, the fighting in that is kind of cool, like how the main character Tanjiro, he finds the string that leads him to cut the demon's head off in one swift stroke. Like that's pretty cool. And like how I'm not sure, it doesn't seem like when he's like when the water's coming out of his sword, it's more symbolic than it is like an actual physical water.
Yeah. I think it's more like supposed to be metaphorical versus like, oh, he's you can't drink the water that's coming out of his sword.
Right. So I kind of like how there's like a lot of like metaphors while they're fighting, I guess. And that's something that it's different. It's a different kind of way of animating a fight scene than something with a lot of like crazy action like My Hero Academia. Like Demon Slayer, it doesn't have like insane animation all the time.
I don't know. I think there's some really, really good stuff in Demon. Well, my opinion of Demon Slayer is I think it's kind of an okay manga that got like a 10 out of 10 adaptation that's being risen above its station. Kind of like Soul Eater.
Yeah. Well, so far I am enjoying it, and they got some fun characters in it too, and I think they play off with each other.
Your boy Tato's got some fighting words. He says Tanjiro's better than Deku.
Kappa. That means he's sarcastic. That means sarcastic.
Okay. I didn't know that the Kappa meant sarcasm, but do you like Deku better than Tanjiro, or do you like everyone's little favorite emo boy?
I still like Deku better. I think Deku is a pretty he's a pretty fun main character to follow at this point. Tanjiro, not much else going on with him besides he's got this sense of smell, and
he's a very nice boy who's very nice.
Yes.
He's very nice.
He's a very nice boy. He's very
nice. Very nice.
In a way, they are a little bit similar. Like they're both kind of like OCD, kind of like people nice in that way.
I think Tanjiro's defining thing is that he's kind, and that's the whole point that differentiates him when he's like beating up a demon or killing a demon, is that like he's empathetic for all their sob stories and he empathizes with them, so he gives them like a nice fate, and he shows that he's like it's like, oh, you played the Tamari really good, you're a good boy, demon, I'm sorry what happened to you.
Yeah.
But like, I'm a shonen trash boy. I'm always a sucker for anything where there's like, oh, this is the power system. Oh, here's the really strong guys, and then they got to fight the blank strong guys. So, I'll follow anything like that. But I still think it's like kind of like
But
okay.
Chainsaw Man doesn't have that.
Oh, Chainsaw Man, so great. Well, if you to all of you watching this who haven't seen the video, go check out my Chainsaw Man video. I really want you to go watch the Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man is so great, and yeah, we'll probably come back soon and do a nice new live stream to talk about the recent batshit crazy chapters of Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, Chainsaw Man's pretty fun.
But
It's better than Fire Punch, that's for sure.
so let's get into the My Hero Academia Heroes Rising. So what do you think of the movie?
Movie was pretty good. I wish Invisible Girl had more moments, more highlights during the fights. I think she could have like stealthily like sneaked up behind some of these enemies and like blinded them, like especially like that puppet guy. The guy who was like making puppets out of objects. You know what I mean?
What? What? Oh, the guy who like consumes stuff.
Consumes. I think he had like a bandage power. He can like bandage things and turn them into puppets. Like, do you remember? And Bakugo was the one who beat him.
Yeah. When he's like possessing the kids, and he's like, well, he was kind of like a nothing character. He was just like literally just there for fight porn.
Yeah, I know. The whole movie felt like fight porn, honestly. It was a big fight porn movie, and they showed off Deku's like new gear where he could flick things.
Yeah, that's what I thought was really interesting. Is that like this movie was like typically the way these movies are produced is that like they go to a certain point where they can feature stuff from the anime, but this one was like showing shit from the manga that hadn't appeared in the anime yet. So I was amazed that like him using the air power glove was like the first time I saw it was in the fucking movie before the anime had its debut.
Yeah, that was interesting that they made that decision. Like maybe they shouldn't have waited, but it felt okay. Like Hirokoshi, just by nature, he seems to like to rush to things. So this felt like, yeah, it felt okay to do that before it even showed in the anime. Like even revealing Hawks.
True. True. And yeah, did you enjoy? Well, Hawks doesn't really do much of anything.
No, and he doesn't really live up to his name by being, the too fast. When I see him on the screen, I'm like, you don't really seem that fast. Like, I guess when you explain it to me earlier, like he's too fast in his progression. Like that makes more sense. Like I guess that's why he's called Too Fast.
Well, it's not so much that he's like a speedster. It's just like he's moving too fast in his career goals.
Right.
Then then like
He's moving too fast in his career goals.
Yeah, that's where his speed comes from.
He's going to retire in like a couple years or something.
Yeah, there you go. Hawks is going for that golden watch. And he's a millennial who sells his like tech company at like 25 and then retires. That is what Hawks' arc is.
Yeah, that seems like it's it. But yeah, the main thing I really liked about this movie was like probably when all the heroes were like finally working together to fight these villains and doing like really interesting power combination combos. Like sometimes if it's just like a one-on-one hero fight, it doesn't really do it with me because there's only so many things like that one hero can do.
Yeah, that's what Horikoshi kind of like wrote himself in a corner. That like a lot of the characters have like very niche powers, and there's like only one thing they can do with it.
Right. So really, it's more like it's got to be like a X-Men style kind of show.
And that's one thing I think he did a really good. Well, supposedly Horikoshi supervised it, and considering the big thing that happens towards the end, which we'll get to, it feels like something like I feel like a regular production team wouldn't be able to like mess with the lore that unless they had some sort of blessing from the creator. But that was sort of like a great thing, is that they showcased all the various classmates. They all got their little hero moments, whether it was them like helping out people on the island, or like the big villain showdown where they all like try and hold them off, and they have this sort of defense barrier, and they're just like fighting as much as they can to buy time.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, oh, I guess one of the best parts was that last fight, like towards the end of that last fight, where Deku and Bakugo were just kind of like on their last legs of life, and Deku does this kind of like unthinkable thing. He's like, I have one idea left, and he just transfer his All Might power to Bakugo, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I can't believe Horikoshi gave them the permission to do that. That feels like such an end of the series, like break the internet moment where it has like a full color page where like Shigaraki's killed everyone, and Bakugo and Deku are like broken, and then Deku is like his last legs shares All for One, and then they both do an All for One fucking Detroit smash together, and they did a really good job of animating it when they both had it. And it was like one of those things where it's like, oh, wow, I can't believe you gave that to this like throwaway villain who's like, vaguely related to All for One and the League of Villains, but he was like kind of a mediocre villain.
I think Hirikoshi should have just been like, yes, this is continuity now. Let's have Deku like completely powerless, and now Bakugo is the one with All Might's powers. That would have been so cool.
That would have been sad, but I would have respected the balls out of it. Like, I always respect people. Maybe that's half the reason why I love Chainsaw Man so much, is because he's always doing very bold decisions. Because, like, in Chainsaw Man, after they have that, like, everyone's bonding and they kill the Eternity Devil, it felt like, okay, you've got a status quo. I like the status quo. These characters are fun. It's fun to hear them interact. Let's go see them just like do Monster of the Week devil hunting. I would have been fine with that. That would have been okay. Oh wait, you're gonna throw the table across.
Like, I think they just kill off one of the mentor characters, right?
Yeah. Himio.
Oh yeah, and the other guy too. I
respect creators who have big brass balls. If Horikoshi had super mega hyper balls of Deku giving All for One to Bakugo, and then he becomes like the Oracle and supporting him on the side, I would, mad respect. But he was never going to do that. And the real question is, are we going to see them do it again before the series is over?
Yeah, that's a thing sometimes with anime movies. It's just gotta be like, it's gotta be fight porn, honestly, because you can't have any like sticking story with it, and this is the nature of the beast. I wish there was like more of a sticking story sometimes.
Yeah, something that was like more crucial canon. Like, I think we would all go apeshit if like there was a One Piece movie that was just like a whole backstory of Goldie Roger.
That would be pretty cool. Like an OVA, just like backstory on a character.
Yeah, that I think would be the best way to like handle these movies, is like give us some canon or some sort of side character that you wouldn't have time to like show us otherwise. But that usually doesn't happen. It's like sort of like, let's showcase the things that you love, and usually because most manga characters or shonen manga characters are pretty two-dimensional. There's not much you can do with them, and you can't do much that like conflicts with the canon.
Do all those Rohan OVAs in like super like hyper anime quality.
Well, I don't know, those Rohan OVAs, they'll always look like they're well animated.
The art style is not quite up to what Part 5 is. Nor the animation quality, I'd say, but I think they're using a different studio. At least someone draws the characters differently.
Well, it's funny though. Like I don't know. Some people are saying like they're talking about how they like the idea. They're like responding in the comments about yeah, I like the idea of like Deku being powerless and he has to support Bakugo. The only
Yep.
problem is I feel like that's beyond the scope of what Horikoshi can write.
Yeah, but I still think he should try.
I feel like Horikoshi's like a guy who understands his limitations and just draws. It's funny to compare him to like the Black Clover mangaka guy. The Black Clover mangaka isn't as good of a storyteller as Horikoshi, so he's just like, I'm gonna shonen the shit out of it. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna shonen the crap out of it. Well, Horikoshi's a better storyteller, but he's not as refined as someone like, say, Tagashi or Oda when he's got all firing on all cylinders. So he's sort of like, crap, I don't know if I'm gonna like actually be able to pull this off, but you know what? I'm just gonna like forget about the details and I'm just gonna go to this like really big emotional moment that I know I can sell.
Yeah, like Hirikoshi, he'll just give you the most flashiest, like Michael Bay kind of like anime you've ever seen. Yeah, this is the hyper fucking awesome, short and sweet anime moment.
Yeah, he's really good for that. He's like he just sort of rushes into those and doesn't really worry himself about like the other characters or fleshing out the world or just sort of like having really long arcs that take their time. He's like I'm like it's funny you should mention it. Your least favorite arc of My Hero is the longest arc.
The overhaul arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think any of those weaknesses I discussed sort of reach your hand?
I guess. I don't know why. I guess maybe I just want Hirikoshi to go fast like Sonic. I guess. When I see him like I see him trying to do a long arc like this. I just like, none of these characters. I don't really. I know he doesn't want them to last. He doesn't want some of these characters, all these characters, to shine, like my face right now. He doesn't want all these characters to shine necessarily. He just wants to get to the point. And the point was Deku beating the shit out of Overhaul or but I also think someone else should have beaten Overhaul besides Deku. Because
you feel like Deku hasn't quite earned that status yet.
Yeah, because this is like he was on a provisional license mission. Like he was an intern basically beating the crap out of he was an intern leading the charge in a police raid or something like that. in the Yakuza police raid. Okay? It's like, why do you have the intern leading the charge?
Well, there you go. Horikoshi wasn't smart enough to come up with a setup to limit Deku and have him but he knows he has to have the main character, the main shonen hero fight the big bad guy.
But in One Piece, like let's take One Piece for example. He realized, Oda realized like him fighting and beating Big Mom just was too early. Like, you fight the second in command and make that a fucking epic fight.
So that's interesting, and it's funny you should compare that because that's one thing I think Horikoshi drew himself in a corner. I think he needed a more defined hero ranking chart because assumingly the top 10, there's not much room for that. I think he needed a system like the One Punch Man, where there's like S rank heroes and A rank heroes, so that way Deku is a little bit more of a climb. Because once he gets on the chart, he's practically there.
Yeah, maybe.
But that's an interesting sort of observation that Luffy's been at this for 800 chapters, and Big Mom is the top of the hierarchy, and still Oda knew that Luffy can't beat Big Mom, because he's not Yanko level ready and he's not worth it. So he should just be able to fight the commander.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone, Mr. A Triple A says he wasn't leading the charge. That was Night Eye.
But he was the one breaking down all the walls. Like, didn't what's his name? Eraserhead guy. Be like, Deku, you go on ahead.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. There was sort of like, like I said, it uses the Choji fight structure where it's like, we gotta fight this bad guy. We're gonna go ahead, which I guess you could think is like kind of dumb. Where it's like it should be like, let the interns and a hero stay behind, and then let the pro heroes go ahead.
Right. Yeah. It was very similarly structured to like the Rescue Sasuke arc from the Sound Ninja. So you theoretically let the lesser heroes fight off against the lesser villains until you get to the main fight. But in this case, like, the main star shouldn't necessarily have been, like, the main star attraction fight shouldn't necessarily have been Deku versus, the boss of the Yakuza. It should have been like Deku versus Second Command.
That's what Deku's like worthy for.
Yeah. And you have a good point that none of those other heroes can break down walls, but Deku can. But I guess what I mean by leading the charge, I mean like Deku has to be the one that fights the final boss. Like, in theory, you could have let Deku stay behind where Eraserhead stayed behind.
And then he fights like some sort of sub-boss.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's fair. Well, what do you think about Deku fighting Incredible 9? Or you just didn't give a shit about 9 because he was kind of like, discount all for one?
I didn't care that much about it at all. It's like it's hard to care about any of those villains, honestly. The only villain I care about, only couple of villains I care about in this series are fucking, oh god, I can't, blanking on the name. You know which ones?
What?
The two ones.
Shigaraki and All for One.
Yes.
No, I think there have been like some pretty strong villains throughout the series.
Oh, and Gentle.
I think there have been some pretty good strong villains. I just think that filler villain is filler villain. Like even his objective is like, we're gonna make a world that only the strong can survive. And it's like, there you go. That's your token villain motivation.
Do you ever care to see like Stain again? Like come back and fight them again? I don't.
You wouldn't want to see Stain again?
I mean, he'd just get his ass beat again. Like he doesn't have anything else. He's like kind of like a one note kind of villain, in my opinion.
I'd be interested to see him come back. I kind of love that he was like an underdog villain with a shitty quirk, but he's just like, oh, I'm so good with these fucking knives. I'm just gonna keep on, cutting people down until the real hero, who doesn't care about fame and glory, comes to the front.
Right, but I mean, he's just gonna do the same thing. He's gonna target heroes who just look for fame and glory. So maybe he'll target like Hawks.
Well, that would be, if he did come back, I feel like it would be a point of like, how's the world changed? Would he become an anti-hero and team up with the heroes? Something like that.
Or maybe he would hunt the villains. Like, I don't know. You have to do something more interesting with this character again for the second time around.
Well, as of right now, he's not come back. And although that does sound like an idea for like a terrible movie, if there was a third My Hero Academia movie. Stain gets out of prison and then he gets more powers and then they gotta fight him.
Yeah. Every time I think of Stain, I think of that lizard guy, and then I think of Ninja Turtles. Like, I know Stain is he's probably based off Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I think he's like a very explicit Ninja Turtles homage, as well as the lizard guy who imitates him.
Yeah. And what is Lizard Guy's power? Like he's just scaly and has swords.
He's a lizard man. That's it.
It's kind of
So
like
some people get good
kind of
quirks,
like
other
Tail
people
Guy.
other people just get they just become lizard men.
Okay. You remember that remember that arc where it's like everyone's trained to find like a superpower version move?
To
What's
increase their
tail Yeah, what's Tail Guy's superpower move? Is it just like become a thicker tail to slap people with thick tail attack?
he gets even better with his tail. I don't know. Hirkoshi wrote himself in a corner. I don't know what he's going to do with Tail Guy.
You could do a ton of shit with duct tape, that's for sure. Like
You love that duct tape.
duct tape guy for sure you could do a ton of.
Oh, good old duct tape guy. It's still ridiculous that, like, human evolution led to a man who shoots duct tape from his wrists.
That guy deserves his own story arc. Like him and Invisible Girl, I think they deserve a story
They're
arc.
your favorite fucking characters. You just love him and Invisible Girl.
I mean, Frog Girl's pretty good too. Don't get me wrong, but like, I think some of these lesser characters deserve a little bit more limelight. To like have their own like personalized story arcs. But maybe that's just me. But it kind of goes against what Hirokoshi's style is.
Well, so some people are good. Oda's decent at balancing multiple characters. Hirkoshi, I don't think it's his best strength. He can only focus on one or two things at a time. And to his credit, it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. I guess it's true.
But
Yeah,
so
I think maybe a My Hero Academia movie where Deku isn't the main character. Maybe that would be kind of interesting.
that would be ballsy. Because, like, I remember that would be balls of steel. Because, like, so what would you rate the movie if you had to give it a rating?
It's like a 6.5.
Really? I thought, like, it was at least an 8.5. Because, like, I really loved the end twist, and I thought they did a great job with the fight porn. But, I mean, I do agree.
I had to wait all the way till the end for that, though.
And you got, like, that incredible scene where it's like the guys, the big monster man is just sieging the freaking mountain, and then they all, like, try and hold out against him.
Yeah, we had to wait for the rest of the movie to finish until that part. So I would say the rest of the movie kind of like counterbalance.
Like, you had cute moments where they're, like, doing, like, little benign shit, and Bakugo's like, fuck it, I'm only gonna do something real.
That was okay, I guess. That kind of felt like, yeah, this is like a filler episode of My Hero Academia. Like half a filler, like a quarter, like an eighth of a filler episode of My Hero Academia that they had somehow that to stretch. And then, introduce these, cutesy.
There's nothing I fucking hate more than, like, random shonen kids where like, every one of these fucking movies always has some random filler kids where it's like, it's like this fantasy of, like, the kids of Japan. Hey, wouldn't you like to hang out with Deku or Naruto or Luffy? Hey, here's this fucking shonen little filler character who they're gonna go hang out with, and we're never gonna see again, and they're gonna have this contrived little arc.
Maybe this movie wasn't for our age demographic, to be honest. Like, I feel like it was probably meant for more for younger kids, like to.
I don't know. You had them being beaten up pretty badly, and then you also had the incredible, sharing the all for one or one for all, which was like a pretty balls to the wall moment.
Yeah, like no, that animation was really cool and everything. I've just like, in terms of like story and plot, like I feel like these movies are kind of meant. It
It's a
doesn't
hard
really
line.
fucking me.
It's a hard line to like, because like I like the ones where you can actually feel like the creator had some sort of input and some quasi lore significance,
Yeah,
versus just like generic. Because then it's just like really expensive filler, which is what most shonen anime movies are for
there's
long
some
running
really well
franchises.
animated filler. Like I stumbled upon like this really cool like scene where Rock Lee is like fighting against this stupid generic like villain, and I was like, whoa, this is kind of badass. But like, what's the point of watching this? Like, I know this villain is like a piece of shit.
You can even tell. I'm sure the villain had like a terrible design.
I feel like all those hours animating this wasted. Like, it's cool, it looks cool, but just like maybe Photoshop the face of that villain with something a little bit more interesting. I don't,
Yeah, like the filler designs for Naruto were especially egregious. They were like just abysmal, and they looked
do you remember the
miserable.
Stupid Brothers? Like,
Yeah.
literally called the Stupid Brothers. Just,
They,
the sad. This is how sad filler can get, and you know, it really gets bad. Like, doesn't matter what kind of animation you throw at it. Just a bad story is a bad story.
yeah, that is true. I won't deny that. The bad story is the bad story, and even like great animation. But Deku giving Bakugo the all for one and that incredible animation, which is like,
That was really cool. That was really cool, but it waited a long time. I waited a very long time.
I'm a little bit more generous. I like it with lore, so that's why I'm sticking with 8.5. But yeah, obviously I hate filler kids as much as anyone else, and filler also feels like a time waster.
Yeah. But Endeavor Fight, that was different. Emotional impact. Character.
Well,
Oh, you back?
yeah, I'm back.
Oh yeah. Naruto definitely does need a Kai re-release, like a Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen. Tata was mentioning that in the chat, and I think Naruto's just gonna become this thing that never dies. It'll be like Dragon Ball Z, and like I'm amazed that like I still see like young fans, and like recently Boruto was trending because people were excited that like after 150 episodes it was adapting the shitty manga that wasn't even overseen by Kishimoto. That's like not even very good.
Yeah, I mean, the universe of Naruto is just so like it's really cool, and like making ninjas like that cool with like crazy powers, like a cool power system too, and chakra, and like having that level of diversity too. It just that was really something special when it first came out.
Well, that's why it became a global spanning sensation. Although I am desperate for you to read Samurai 8 and do a stream about that.
Mm, I yeah, I don't know. After Boruto and everything, then
Well, the sad thing is, I wish I could be more enthusiastic, but I really don't like Samurai 8. And you want to hear something really depressing?
I mean, I would read Samurai 8 over that the new the new the witch anime or the witch manga.
The Witch manga is only one chapter.
Yeah, even that I can't stand.
Well, you want to hear something interesting about Samurai 8?
What?
It's canceled.
What? They canceled the
After
manga?
only 43 chapters, it did so abysmally that even with Kishimoto's big swinging dick of, like, I made Naruto, it got canceled.
Okay.
So now it's a completed series.
So they finished the story arcs and everything. They had
I
time.
need to read it. I don't think Kishimoto made this with like a 43 chapter thing. I'm not up to date. I was getting so frustrated that I literally, or annoyed that I dropped it. But obviously, I'm going to go back now and see how it all wrapped up. But I just thought that was hilarious.
Wow.
Now he knows the pain of his poor younger brother who keeps on making weird manga after weird manga, and they always get canceled.
All right. I see a comment in the comments here. Nightmare Terumi says they aren't ninjas, they are wizards who think they are ninjas. I I would disagree somewhat with that. All right, I'll take an example. Um, Black Clover. This is like something that's desperately trying to be like Naruto. Like they're like they're very wizardry, right? And this is a more wizardry anime or manga than Naruto, right? But
Yeah.
with Naruto, at least you have like like other weapons like ninja throw stars and
Well, there's like, there's the genjutsu, there's the taijutsu, then there's the regular jutsu, and then there's, weapons and jinjuruki and all kinds of other facets.
and like what was the term for that? Like logging out, like when someone you think you're attacking someone, but then they actually a log.
Oh, the kunai log? I forget what the log was that everyone did.
We
Placement jutsu.
call it log out, kind of. So, there are some, things incorporated with, ninja stuff. Of course, it gets like super powered towards the end to almost ridiculousness, but like look at the Chunin exam. Like there was a lot of like ninja stuff that they had to do, like cheating on the answers for the tests.
Well, that was definitely at its peak when it was more lo-fi superpowers versus. Eventually that's what we all come for, and I think that's also a big reason why My Hero has been so successful. Is that like the My Hero power set is on a much smaller scale than most other shonen.
Yeah. Well, because of that, I feel like the series is going to end a lot quicker, though, which is why.
Because of that natural sense of escalation that, like, Deku isn't going to be able to destroy a planet. At most, like, maybe he knocks down a building. That's like the top of the My Hero power scale.
Yeah. But, yeah, exactly.
Well, Horikoshi wrote himself in a corner, and I'm very curious after the arc that's running now if he's, like, going to extend it or if he's going to, like, just be, I'm done. I'm happy.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But I think, less content is sometimes a really good thing.
Well, sometimes you want, if you want to have a really strong story, and it's better to have that strong story end on a high note than just like have yourself dragged into the ground. That was one thing that Kishimoto wrote himself in a corner, is that like as he was like getting rid of the Akatsuki, he didn't introduce another bad guy team for the final war. So by the end, when it came to the final war, it was just like, Obito, Kisame. Well, Kisame didn't make it. It was Obito,
Mandara?
Kabuto, and that was mainly it. And then he had to like come up with a bunch of dead ninjas and Zetsu clones to like come up with an opposing force. And obviously, we're not invested in that. And that we're not invested in the same way that we are invested in like Luffy versus the Marines to save Ace, or Luffy versus Blackbeard, or the eventual final war of One Piece.
Maybe there shouldn't have been a ninja war to begin with. It should have been just like maybe three badass ninjas like trying to take out a few Kage, like actually take out a few Kage, and then like they raid the.
I don't have anything wrong with a giant, huge war. The Marineford War shows you can like pull it off really well if you have it planned out and if you have it built up enough. The question is that
Akatsuki like got whittled down to like nothing. Like,
yeah.
The course of that, after the course of all those missions, like how are they gonna protect this tree? Maybe I don't know.
The war was not set up well, and the fact that he kept on having to introduce more villains as he went on, just made it worse and worse. Because I don't know if it was the editorial department who was like, you got to keep it going, and then he eventually was able to negotiate. Okay, 700 chapters, that's it. I'm done.
and
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 then
then
and then
and
they
then
get
suddenly the mother of all chakra like appears at the end of it, just for icing on the cake. And
oh, that was padding of the worst and the ultimate, and probably like the worst fight he's ever written.
yeah, yeah, that was just kind of like that was like seriously milking everything that Naruto was worth.
When
Like,
she's like poking through the little rabbit holes and shooting out little black sticks from her hands.
yeah, um, they should have just made Toby the final villain.
Yeah, Toby should have been it. Toby should have been the final villain, and that would have been fine.
And I think that would have had a great like emotional impact, like compared to like Madara, like maybe he shows up for a little bit, but I would like to see like the younger generation like somehow beat Madara if
Ah,
they resurrected him.
he didn't really do. Matt Arrow was just like a fight porn bullet sponge. You know, there wasn't really much for him.
Yeah.
Obito was the more interesting villain. He's the evil. We've seen a billion versions of Dark Naruto, but he's like the one who like actually went above and beyond and to the final edge.
Yeah. Yeah, I agreed. He's kind of like the antithesis to Naruto in a way.
So, you know, it was built up enough. The sins of Kakashi come to the sins of the future, and how's Naruto gonna like use his friendship no jutsu to like come through to Obito, who's the ultimate dark, shitty version of him, who's like so bitter and angry that he's like fighting this war on behalf of this dead skeleton.
Yeah, and then after that Obito fight, then you have Naruto and Sasuke fight. Naruto and Sasuke fight.
Honestly,
like,
this is what should have happened. It should have been Sasuke becomes evil, and he's like a big super power up, and he's like killing people in the ninja war. He's super mega powerful. Naruto and Sasuke fight each other, and then they team up, and then he becomes a good guy, and then they fight against the mega hyper powerful Obito. I think the Naruto Sasuke fight needed to be dealt with before like the final boss.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because like that was one of the worst things that Kishimoto did, is that when he had Sasuke come back before like having their central conflict resolved, so then it's like it felt like the team up was unearned.
That's a good point.
They needed to get their shit resolved, then they team up. And you know, it's the most classic shonen trope, but it always works. It's in wrestling, and you know, it's like an overworn trope, but if you do it, it's like really cool when you see the bad guy or the guy who became the bad guy, you know, suddenly become the good guy, and then they're teaming up, and then you're like, yeah!
Yeah, no, that you're right. I agree with that now. Yep. And then you finally, after all that, then you have those three ninja, Sakura, Naruto, Sasuke. They finally team up against Obito.
Exactly. And then they fight you kind of had that moment where they like both summon their animal beasts and they fight against, I don't know, the fucking Ten Tails, blah, 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 monster fight porn. I don't care.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was like a big moment, but it was a shitty moment because it was executed at the wrong time.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree with that. That makes sense because it kind of like put that tension between Sasuke and Naruto on hold.
Yeah, and it was just stupid to just have that like in the background when it was like Sasuke should have taken his place on the throne as the ultimate villain. We'd have all those arcs where he was like, you know, kidnapping the rapping Jinchuuriki and doing all this stuff and, you know, attacking the Cage Summit and doing all this, killing his little fangirl. So, you know, go full villain. Versus, you know, I'm going to have Orochimaru come back so he can resurrect the Kage so they can give me a personal history lesson. So then, I'm going to be good for this minute.
What if Sasuke was an instrumental figure behind the ninja war?
He should have been. You know, he was pretty evil. Go all out. Make him fully evil. He should have been like part of the fucking Akatsuki team, and, you know, he should have been some bullshit.
Akatsuki was like sort of like pulling the strings a little bit, like using Sasuke to their advantage, uh, and then like setting up the tree.
I don't know if you needed the tree, but the tree, I think we could have lived without the tree.
Well, they needed something to set up for the whole moon thing, the infinite genjutsu thing, right? Because that was the whole plan to create.
Yeah, that was to create world peace and put everyone in like a dream.
Right. So yeah.
But all right. So I think this was a fun little discussion. Any final thoughts on the My Hero season 4 and the movie?
Season 4, really good. So really excited for what's to come. It's just like it's so sweet, short and sweet. It feels like there's not a whole lot to talk about sometimes, but even though we've probably been talking for like 2.5 hours or
Hour and a half, give or take.
uh I just really enjoyed that last episode.
It was a strong episode. I think it was a really good note to like end on a strong point. You know, makes people want more and makes up for it was a good 1-2 punch of like the lighter arc and then the super heavy arc.
Yeah.
Because I did think I think they did a good job with Gentil, and I think they did a good job of whatchamacallit.
Gentle and this Endeavor fight. Those are my two things about this season. Overhaul, it wasn't that spectacular.
I'm surprised because like I still like the fact that Overhaul is like a better version of Shigaraki to like. Well, here's my question though: did
cool? Lemillion was cool, and like how he fought Overhaul with like no powers, still fighting him.
Did you not like the moment though when Shigaraki gets his vengeance on Overhaul?
Yeah, it was okay. It was like it was pretty funny. Like I kind of wonder like why didn't he just kill him? Why did he just disintegrate his arms?
I think Shigaraki really wanted to spite him, so he's like, "You don't like your quirk? Well, okay, now you can't use it anymore." He was like, his idea is like, what's better than killing you? Oh, it's like taking away your greatest creation and then you knowing that I used it for my own ends and you have to live with it while you're sitting around with no hands.
So they broke him out of. They essentially broke him out of like prison. Well, going to prison, and then, despite him, just disintegrated his arms.
Well, Mr. Compress, who lost an arm to him, well, because he had a special reason to be spiteful to Overhaul, because Overhaul
could have killed one of his dudes.
Yeah, not only did he kill one of his dudes, he could have easily brought him back.
Yeah, and he didn't.
And he didn't.
Yeah, that. I think that could have been.
And he also took a hand off of Mr. Compress. And he easily could have given it back. We've shown that he can regenerate shit if he feels like it.
Oh, that's true. Oh, yeah, that was a double whammy. But it was kind of like they killed one guy for one guy, right? They killed one of his guys for one.
Yeah, but his guy was a little bit more important because he was like the transgender guy. And, he sort of fit into the theme of the League of Villains being like this haven for misfits and people who are misunderstood who are just fighting for their right in society.
I'm just saying, like, like in terms of their motivations, like they each lost one guy to the other. So, in some sense, you could say that they're even and they can negotiate from there. But Shigaraki, he's still pretty spiteful, even besides that. He's not willing to look past that, I don't think, in terms of negotiating. But he kind of left it to his minions to decide that, honestly. He didn't really decide that on his own until his minions were like, or his other dudes, maybe I shouldn't call them minions, but his other dudes were just like, you know what? this Overhaul guy, he's not really anything special. Let's just fuck off. Yeah.
They were kind of like, I mean, Overhaul's minions were completely devoted towards him, but everyone else was kind of like, Shigaraki, his lesson from Overhaul was to learn that, if he shows that he cares about his minions, they'll be devoted towards him. Because they have that big moment where he takes his hand off his face and he shows his face to his people, to Toga and Twice, and he says that, like, I want to build a world for us where we can be happy and safe and whatnot. And that's what, like, made them, like, all right, we're devoted towards you, Shigaraki. You're our ride or die guy for life.
Yeah.
Which is the main thing that he was not having.
Yeah, well, I guess it would have been neat to see Shigaraki like come up with like a solid plan to thwart Overhaul as well. But it was kind of just like, just leave it to the wind, kind of thing.
But you didn't love seeing Shigaraki, get his like, fuck yeah moment. He's got a coat. He's gonna bust up some hands.
It's like literally like a couple hours after his minions like left, Shigaraki had to like drive super quick to where Overhaul was getting overhauled towards prison, and then break him out of there and disintegrate him. He was like, ha ha ha, loser. He's just like, he kicked him while he was down, basically. It didn't really show like that much of a badass moment. He just like kicked Overhaul while he was down.
I guess you wanted Shigaraki to like dominate him while he was like in his prime or something, and you feel like that would have been more satisfying.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Like maybe he releases the restraints on Overhaul and then is like, all right, come at me, show me, No, then he's like, let's fight or something. I don't know. I don't know. This is something better than kicking him
while he was down.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that finishes up some good summation thoughts. It was still, nice to see My Hero being part of the shonen hierarchy, the king of the mountain, still maintaining its plus ultra status quo. Maybe we'll have to.
Maybe kick him even more while he's down. Maybe like disintegrate half of his face or something.
You wanted something even more brutal?
Yeah, so then Overhaul really has motivation, like a really strong motivation for seeking revenge against Shigaraki. Like that'd be pretty fun.
AAA says Shigaraki okay boomered Overhaul, which is almost apt, except for the fact that they're kind of like supposed to be around the same age. Overhaul is supposed to be like 20-ish or something.
Yeah, I don't see Overhaul being a boomer. But
he had a boomer mentality for following the Yakuza, thinking the Yakuza were cool.
Even he had like a young Yakuza's mentalities. Like Overhaul against the former Yakuza boss was like, that was like a okay boomer movement.
Yeah. All right. So, one last final thing, and then we'll end the stream and say our goodbyes. What grade would you give season 4 now that you've seen it all?
This is an 8.5 for me.
I think it's a good grade. I think it was a strong season. They were a little bit lagging, a little bit areas where it felt like Bones wasn't quite plus ultraing, but they ended on a strong note, and they did some good job with some great materials. I think the only thing that's like holding My Hero back is the fact that it feels like it's been around for too long and it's too culturally ubiquitous, so it felt like season 4 didn't quite have as much hype just because it's been in such an institution, but I still think it's going strong. I still think it's the king of the shonen world.
Yeah.
Even if One Piece is the real king.
Well, it should be in theory, but I mean, the anime.
At least in America, fandom, it feels like My Hero is the king. Although Demon Slayer is working hard to over. Demon Slayer is working hard to supplant it.
Yeah, Demon Slayer's got me curious. I'll check more out.
Well, once Goro finishes catching up with Demon Slayer, we'll do a stream on that, and we'll talk about Demon Slayer.
Is there a lot of content for Demon Slayer so far?
It's like 24, 25 episodes. Standard season.
Just one season so far?
Yeah, well, you want to hear something interesting that Demon Slayer's doing?
What?
So Demon Slayer, the next arc, they're not doing it, well, at least part of it. Like, there's a short arc after where it ended. So they're doing it as a movie.
What?
The next Demon Slayer thing is a movie, which is it's not like a fucking filler movie. It's gonna just adapt a short arc into a full feature length movie.
Well, that'd be pretty cool. I wonder how that would work.
That's something I've never seen before, where it's like, where the movie's actually going to be canon, and assumingly season 2 will take place after the movie at some point.
Yeah, that sounds pretty fun.
So that's an interesting thing. But I think you're close to. You're like what, 15 episodes in?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So you're not far, but I will finish my Doro Hedoro, and we will be back. All right. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. Always a pleasure to have you in the comments. Thank you, Tato, Nightmare, AAA, Mr. Bob Smith, Jordan Chaser, Chief D Hater, Weird Russian Guy, and all the other people who were in here to hang out with us. I'll try and give you a heads up when we next do a little ranting review live stream. Also, I'm officially live on Anchor, so I'll give you a link so you can listen to past episodes. And of course, it's also on my second YouTube channel. So go check that out. And thank you for hanging out. And remember, lobsters and tennis, but don't you grab it.
So yeah.
All right, end the stream.